Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q1 FY23 earnings conference call of Motherson Sumi Wiring India Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star, then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Vivek Chand Sehgal, Chairman. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think you have seen the results. We believe they are, under the circumstances, a very good set of numbers. And without much delay, I'd hand it over back to the Master of Ceremonies to make sure that your questions are answered by us. With me are Anurag, Gauba, Pankaj, Vaman. All of us are here at Kunal to answer your questions. Thank you very much. Back to you. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. We are in the conference. Just give me a minute, waiting for the other members.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Kapil Singh from Nomura. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. I had 2 questions. Firstly, on this dedicated line we have set up in Chennai for high voltage harnesses, I wanted to understand that to start off with, which category of vehicles, that is passenger vehicles, commercial or two-wheeler, are we starting off with? And also, if you have any calculations here in terms of content for each of these 3 categories, how much increase is there? And also some color on technology aspect, like what are the special requirements which are there for high voltage harnesses?
Okay. Anurag and Pankaj, can you take this?
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. This line, which we have set up in Chennai, as we have mentioned, is for both passenger cars as well as two-wheelers, and also commercial vehicles, which includes basically the buses as well. So it's for all 3 of them, which have been initiated during this quarter. You also asked that what are the specialities of handling these. So basically, high voltage cables require very special equipment for processing them. There are multiple operations which are there. So different set of machine requirements, different set of testing requirements, and complete testing and validation before they get shipped to the customer. So it's a different level of processing of these cables and connectors, terminals thereof, which is required to fulfill the requirement. In terms of the set prices or what kind of value addition, it's very different from different makers, and it's no comparison to the low voltage cables, because as you would know that high voltage cables have much different specs and need to carry this much higher level of copper and other things, and therefore they are much more expensive than the low voltage side of the part of the harnesses. In a passenger car, nearly 75-80% of the wiring harnesses remain low voltage, and basically the engine side goes off, and in terms of that, against that, these high voltage cables come into picture. So I hope that answers your questions.
Yes,
and also,
sir.
safety-wise, it's different, isn't it?
Sorry, Mr. Segar?
I was just saying the care that has to be taken for the high voltage cables, because if it's not taken care of, then people can get electrocuted. So that's the difference, which is a huge difference between car. Car is operating at 12 volts and maybe 40, 80 amps at max. And high voltage cables go up to 120, 140, 180 amps. So huge difference in handling of the wires. The lines are special.
Sure, sir. What would help, sir, at some point if you could share in terms of, let's say, an index value of a passenger vehicle in ICE and a similar vehicle in electric vehicle, like how much is the percentage increase? That would really help in understanding, for all three of these categories. If you have it ready, we can take it now. Otherwise, probably later on at some point, that would really help.
You see, the advantage and disadvantage is something is just explained that to you. But it depends upon the facilities that the car maker wants to give you. So as the facilities go up, the complication goes higher and higher. But Pankaj, I'll leave it to you to explain.
No, that's exactly my point, was it because it's so variable and it varies a lot. But in many cases, the high voltage part of the if you take the charging connectors to the high voltage cables which are going into the vehicle itself, it can be as expensive as the low voltage side of it as well. So it can be varying from model to model also.
Okay, sir. And second question is on the cost side. Just broad question. After a long time, we are seeing some drop in commodities now playing out. So, by when do you think we will start to see the benefit of that? Is it from second quarter onwards? As a company and as industry, should we expect the benefit of commodities to flow through?
Yeah, Kapil.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Baba.
Kapil, as we have consistently maintained and said that we have a pass-through for copper as well as for the Japanese yen. So while in a percentage term it does help if the price comes down or in a quarter or all that, but over a period of time as the prices get stabilized, this gets even out. So that it helps us to reduce the working capital if the prices come down and all that. But at the same time, we more work on operating efficiency improvement than just on these commodity advantage.
Okay, sir. And for the industry, though, we should expect the benefit to start coming from second quarter?
I mean, that goes without saying. I think how the prices are, what comparison, so the average prices will hold good for the industry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the question was because, some of the OEMs have also mentioned that for some of the other categories beyond the basic commodities like plastics, etc., they are still seeing inflation. So, that was the reason for the question.
I think that is best addressed by the OEMs. The copper price of LME is available across, and sometimes the comparison are between peak and the trough. But as I said, the average prices are there for everybody to see, and we also disclose it as an answer.
Sure, sir. Thank you, and wish you all the best.
Thanks, Kapil.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jinesh Gandhi from Motilal Oswal Financial Services. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. First question is on the RM cost side. So, did 1Q see some lag effects of RM cost inflation in P&L, or given that prices had marginally cooled off in 1Q, as indicated in your presentation, there was not much impact of cost pass-through impact?
Gauba?
I mean, you have seen the LME copper price in dollar terms as well as in US dollar. So the impact is not very significant as we can see compared to the previous quarter. But Japanese yen has weakened up, so there could be some plus minus on that. But as things get stabilized, this gets evened out.
Okay. So in that context, how do we see this QOQ increase in RM cost and percentage of sales, which was close to 110 basis points? Anything one-off there, or anything getting lumpy over here?
I think, Jinesh, we are not selling the same product all the quarters, so there are
Little mix impact. Okay.
some marginal impact of the product mix. Also, you have, I mean, it's very difficult. It's very few basis points that the difference is there, and it would be just not viable to get into those detailed because we are not selling the same product all the time.
Got it. And secondly, from tax perspective, given that it's first full year from our perspective, so are we using the new tax regime of 25% tax rate, or we are still on the old regime?
This is a new company, and we have been following the 25% TPT.
25%. Okay. Got it. And lastly, what would be the capex for FY23?
I mean, last time we had given a guidance that it is 100 crore plus minus 25 crores, so maybe 125. And as you can see, we have also said in our commentary that we have established a new plant in Chennai. So there is a capex for the new facility. But normally, otherwise, in the normal circumstances, the capex, as you know, for wiring harness business is largely on land and building. The normal other capex is very small.
Got it. Thanks. I will come back in queue.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Aman Agarwal from Carnelian Capital. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir, and thanks for the opportunity. So my question was basically, if I see our gross margins, they are far higher than some of our peers. Like they are around 500, 600 basis points higher compared to our peers. So what are the drivers which are leading to such higher margins? Is it the economics of scale we get due to a large scale of our parent, or some other reason? So?
Wow. Pankaj, would you like to take this, or Anurag? Would you like to take this?
So, always the drive has been to continuously improve ourselves. So we have one very simple drive in the whole group, enunciated by Mr. Sehgal, is to do BY, and that's what we all aim for. So we really do not look at the peers. We have continuously strived to improve our performance all the time.
Yeah, our peers are very powerful people, yeah. So we just follow ourselves, yeah, very simply.
Understood, sir. Yeah. And so, going forward, well, it is very early to say, but on the EV side, do we expect the margins to be more or less similar to our low voltage kind of business, or would it be different from what we basically make in our low voltage business?
I'll again give it to Pankaj, but I think you must understand every car is different. So it depends upon what car is coming, what is it that people are buying. So our products are more related to that. But Pankaj, can you shed some light on this?
Basically, all the, there is profitability of a particular project or a particular product is very difficult for us to answer in general. because there is no shade specific to it. It's over a period of time as the teams get opportunities and they find more and more improvement opportunities. We try keep working very hard to create the various possibilities. So that's how we have built ourselves over the period of time, and that's what we are doing in every business, be it a high voltage or a low voltage business. And company focuses on capital employed more than anything else.
So any internal metric on that return on capital employed which we usually target in terms of a new project when we go for a new project?
I mean, it's not just sorry.
Go ahead, Pankaj, go ahead.
I was just adding that it's not only, at the start of the project as to when we get awarded, but it's to work hard to strive on an overall basis. So it's not something which is specific to a particular product.
Okay, understood, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Karan Kokane from Ambit Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, first I just had, one housekeeping question. So, last time in the presentation you had provided breakup of revenues by segments. So would it be possible for you to provide that breakup?
Gauba?
I mean, it would be very difficult.
I think you're confusing with SAMIL, isn't it?
Last time we had given a breakdown: test car, commercial vehicle, and two-wheeler.
Yeah, exactly, sir.
Test coming from the analyst. But I think these are the numbers which are to be seen on a yearly basis, on a quarter to quarter. These may not vary significantly, and sometimes you have a block holiday, so they don't indicate any trend. So it is better to look that on a full year basis rather than on a quarter on quarter basis.
Okay, understood. Sir, and then, second question was, more on the technical side of things. So I just wanted to understand, there are a few wiring harness players in India which manufacture just two-wheeler wiring harness. So how different is a, wiring harness for a two-wheeler versus say, a passenger vehicle? So can a two-wheeler wiring harness manufacturer make passenger vehicle wiring harnesses in the future? How easy or difficult would it be to make that switch?
Are you asking us to guess without knowing whom you're referring to?
Yes, sir. In general, I mean, if they say a player who is like making.
It's not a pan ki dukaan, yaar. Wiring harness is a very difficult thing, and probably I don't know whom you're referring to, but you can see there's a lot of bikes that catch fire and number two-wheelers and all that. So it's not something so simple as what people think it is. There are many things that have to be taken care of, but it's a very hypothetical question. I really can't answer it. But anybody from our side who'd like to attempt? Pankaj, Gauba, Anurag?
I think you very well said that there are a lot of very high specs which are associated with the passenger car industry, and the customers are very careful, and they select the suppliers very carefully.
Okay, sir, and then just wanted to check, what percentage of our purchases are, say, denominated in yen, so imports in yen. So if, say, the yen falls 10% against the INR, so what can be the benefit that we can expect?
Sir, we make over 20,000 different types of harnesses. So it's a very difficult question to answer, and we need a great computer to help us.
Okay, sir. So yeah, those are all the questions from my end. Thanks. I'll fall back in the queue.
No worries.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Saurabh from Ambit Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello. Hi, good evening, sir. So just wanted to understand from the business side. So just the difference between, say, a high voltage harness and a low voltage harness. So basically just want to understand which part of the business requires the high voltage harness and which can do with the low voltage harness as well. And over that, if you can provide what is the, out of the current capacity, what percentage of the capacity currently produces the high voltage harness?
Look, a high voltage harness is basically for electric vehicles. Low voltage is the normal vehicles that you are buying on the scene today. You have to be that much more careful, but Pankaj, can you throw some light for him?
So basically, even an electric car, the internal working of all the electrical functions of the vehicle, like lamps and other functions, everything is still working on the low voltage side. So the charging and then the inverter and the motor which is driving the vehicle requires the high voltage stuff. And in terms of our capacity utilization, as you know, that majorly is still the businesses in India are running on ICE engines.
Understood. So basically, high voltage is required only for EVs and not for ICE vehicles, which are going towards premiumization. So the premiumization trend probably can be catered with the low voltage harnesses as well. Am I right?
Absolutely, sir.
Got it. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kripa Shankar from Choice Equity. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, can you hear us?
Mr. Shankar,
Yeah.
your audio is not clearly audible.
Yeah, now it is clear?
Yes.
Yeah, so just want to know, do we have any order book for HP in from which client in high voltage?
Sorry?
Do you have any order book for high voltage wiring?
Yes, we have set up a plant. We do have the orders.
May I know the quantum of the order value, or like on for which client or which segment?
Do we give that granular, Gauba?
No, normally, sir, we don't disclose because we have to check with the customers. We don't disclose their names based on confidentiality. But in terms of segments, as we mentioned, that all three segments, two-wheelers, passenger cars, as well as commercial vehicles, are covered. So all three.
And order value would be the?
So we are not giving any specific order values as such. So these have not been disclosed yet by the company.
Okay. And just want to understand for the HT integration in electric vehicle, as the integration of the electric vehicle is more like the motor and BMS and everything is like very close together. Just want to understand, does that impact the length of the HV is going to be integrated in electric vehicle as compared to the ICE engine? So how much will be the delta if we supply the high voltage vehicle into electric vehicle as compared to a low voltage wire in a ICE vehicle?
Okay, Pankaj, attempt it, yes.
But if I have understood your question right, you are asking a question which says that if it's an electric vehicle, will the amount of wires required will reduce?
Yes,
right?
yes.
No. There is no generic rule like that. In an electric vehicle, most of the time the customers are trying to provide actually even more features. And as I mentioned that the low voltage side of the vehicle remains the low voltage side, and there actually the features are increasing as well. So it depends on which level of car is electric or whether it is an ICE engine. So we have not yet seen it in our market here. But yes, you would have also read that many car makers in the world, depending upon their own constraints, they may want to devise certain things or trying to innovate where they have assembly issues or other kind of issues to find some other ways in which they can assemble their cars faster, and even though it may not be economical to do it, but may try to find ways and means to do something in a different way. So there are various studies and project studies which are available, as you would also.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That's it from my side.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one at this time. The next question is from the line of Vinod Malviya from Union Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for taking my question. My question was on our employee cost. Frequently we have seen almost a 6.5% increase in your employee cost. So going forward, what should one really look at, like in terms of the quarterly run rate for your employee cost? And is it like possible for you to quantify how much of the employee cost is fixed in nature and how much is it be a variable number over here?
Nava?
Sir, as we have said in the presentation, in the last quarter we are establishing and doing the trial runs for the new launches which are to come, both in Bengaluru as well as in Chennai. So the manpower who is being trained, so there are people who have been employed. And in the last quarter, there is also inventory built up because of there is a block holidays and less production than anticipated. You must have also seen OEM's commentary wherein they lost some of the volumes because of last minute changes. So manpower cost is higher because of the new facilities which are being set up.
Okay. Okay. Then let me just pose the question over here, sir. In this particular quarter, we have seen employee cost as a percentage of sales coming at around 16.5%. On a very steady state, what this number should really settle down at? Should it be like 14.5%, 15% kind of a number as a percentage of sales?
See, I think it would be very difficult to guide on each of the quarterly basis on this, as we have always focused on improving the operating performance and the return on capital employed. So you will see that direction being continued there. But to pinpoint a particular manpower cost in a quarter or those things, there could be one-off or events which are preparing for future growth. Hence, our specific guidance on this should be avoided.
Yes. So the reason I was emphasizing on this is because all the way from Q3 of FY22 and even Q4 of FY22 and further in Q1 of FY23, we have seen your margins at the EBITDA level coming down, and employee cost being one of the biggest factor in your overall cost structure. So that's why I was just focusing more on the employee cost. Because in the Q3 of FY23, you did 14.3% EBITDA margin, which came down to 13.2%, and now it has come down to 12.1%. I understand on your gross margin is also contracted, but apart from that, employee cost has been other major factor which has also led to this volatility or this margin contraction.
I think you are aware that we are going through COVID restrictions and problems, right? And semiconductor and many things. And yes, as Gauba said, the number of production that's coming from the customer is changing. And it's very difficult to correlate with all these particular variables. But Gauba, would you want to add something to help this anyone?
Yeah, I think in a steady phase, you will always find these costs getting normalized, but these are different circumstances. And surely when the new launches are there, it takes time for people to achieve those efficiency level and ramp up. And in a particular quarter when there are no sales, because we have to not just establish the facility, but train the manpower at least 3-4 months in advance so that when the launch is there, we are doing the inventory built up, they can go and produce and ramp up to the OEM's requirement. So you will have to wait for some time, as you know, there are multiple of new launches which have been happening in the recent past.
Got it. Thanks. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one. The next question is from the line of Karan Kokane from Ambit Capital. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thanks for the opportunity again. Sir, just wanted to check, what was the lease payment that was made during the quarter?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
The lease payment which Motherson Sumi Wiring makes to SAMIL, the quantum during this quarter.
It would be difficult for me to give that number offhand, but surely it is in line with the shareholders' approval and consistent with the agreement which is there and which was already shared with all the shareholders.
Okay, sir. Fine. And sir, the second question, we already have a JV with Kyungshin for making wiring harnesses for Hyundai. So, would it be fair to say that Motherson Sumi Wiring, will find it difficult to supply to?
Listen. That's not a part of this company, so we can't comment on that. And when the SAMIL's listing will be done, we can answer your question there. But I would request you to focus on this will.
So just wanted to understand the impact on
Motherson is.
Wanted to understand the impact on MSWIL. Would it be difficult for MSWIL to? So my question was, would it be difficult for MSWIL to enter into Hyundai and Kia? That was the question.
Why would we compete with ourselves? Does it make sense to you?
Yeah. So that's what I was saying. So it will not be, possible for the company to enter into Hyundai Kia, right? So that was just a clarification.
So there's so much of fish in the ocean, yeah. We have to go and fight it out. I mean, is that your sense of how we should be operating the company?
Sorry, I didn't get that, sir, but I think my question was answered, so I'll fall back in the queue.
Okay, that's good enough.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. As there are no further questions from the participant, I now hand the conference over to Mr. Vivek Chand Sehgal for closing comments. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I think the last question was rather vague. I didn't understand why the gentleman has not understood why the bifurcation was done. And we did have a 99.4% approval of the shareholders, the minority majority. So for me, the situation was very clear. All joint ventures, they wanted to do only business which is only focused in India. And this gentleman is trying to understand why that was done. Well, there is no decision. There was a purpose by which we did the bifurcation, and we did that. Anyway, since he has understood why we have done it, I think the problem stands resolved. The key thing for this particular thing was that April and May were rather weakish months for the car makers. June was better, so the results were
Participants are requested to please stay connected while we reconnect Mr. Sehgal. Participants, we have the line for Mr. Sehgal connected. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Sorry. So I was just summing up and telling that I think the coming quarter seems to be that much more exciting. And I think by September, October, you will start to see the semiconductor issues mainly getting resolved. So wish you all the best and stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Motherson Sumi Wiring India Limited, that concludes this conference. We thank you all for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.